My name is Gabriel Juarez here at Confluence Fly Shop in Bend, Oregon. Today we're going to be tying the Copper John, a fly that really needs no introduction, one of many John bar flies that'll catch trout just about anywhere in the country. Let's take a look at what we're going to use today to tie this fly. So we're going to be tying this fly on a Daiichi 1710 in a size 12. This is a great size for our steelhead locally. But you can also tie it in any other size you'd like. For trout, we like 14s through 18s. And the bead to match the hook is going to be a 1/8 inch countersunk tungsten bead. We're going to use 0.015 lead-free wire. Going to add a little bit of extra weight to this fly. Our body's going to be ultra wire. And traditionally it's tied in copper. Today we're going to be using red. And this is medium. Find that that's kind of the best size for a size 12. Our tail, we're going to be using Goose Biots in brown. Our thorax is going to be Peacock Herl in small. This is just the natural stuff. Our wing case is going to be thin skin. A little bit of that pearl tinsel over top. This is large. Our legs are going to be Hungarian Partridge. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is come in and pinch this barb. Next thing we're going to do is come in with some lead-free wire. Make a few wraps. I like to do about 6 or 7 wraps of this lead-free wire behind the bead. We'll push all those wraps forward up against and behind the bead. It'll kind of stabilize it. I've got UTC 70 Ultra Thread in black today. We're going to start that right behind our lead wraps. And we'll make some wraps over top. Just kind of secure that to the hook. And we're going to advance, make our way back down. Right about the barb. Alright, so we're going to tie in our tails next. Maybe 2 Goose Biots. And I want that to be just a little shorter than the shank. So I'll kind of get a little bit of a measurement there. I'm going to pinch those at the back of the hook. Make 1, 2 loose wraps. And then I'm going to tighten down. And the torque from those tight wraps will allow those biots to sit nice and neat right on top of the hook, just the way we want them. So I'll come in and trim the excess here. All right, great. Now I'm just gonna kind of make a little bit of a taper here with my thread, build up some body. And we're gonna tie in our wire next. I'm going to tie that on my side of the shank. Make sure it runs nice and straight all the way down to your biots. And I'll make advancing wraps. Back up. And I'll end about at the 2/3 mark on the hook. So, next step is we're going to wrap our body. And the first wrap is what counts. So make sure it's nice and tight and straight. Just take your time. Make sure there's no spaces. And this is why it's so important to have plenty of wire to work with here. It's better to have more in the end than less. Do not want to run out. Alright, so once I've got to about the 2/3 mark, I'm going to make a couple wraps behind the wire. And then I'll make a couple of tight wraps in front. And then I'll do the same thing one more time. Few wraps behind, few wraps in front. And what we're going to do is just helicopter this wire and it will break clean. And No need to dull any scissors here. All right, so now that we've got our body made, we're gonna get started on this wing case. All right, so we're gonna tie in our tinsel first. I'll just pull real slowly, kind of get some of that excess out, make my way back to my wire wraps. We're gonna come in with our thin skin next and tie that on top. There's two sides to the thin skin. There's a shiny side and there's a dull side. We're gonna tie dull side down. All right. So next step is our thorax, and that's gonna be this strung peacock herl. And there's two sides to this peacock herl. There's one side that's more iridescent than the other. We want that side to be facing us when we tie it in. And you'll see why here in a second. When we make wraps with that peacock herl, you'll notice you can really take advantage of that iridescent side. The way you make wraps away from yourself, it'll allow that iridescent side to really stand out, and the dull side will kind of lay down. Make a couple wraps behind and in front there, and then I'll come in flat, just trim the excess. All right, so I've already got my partridge prepped here. Got the notch at the end. I'm gonna tie the concave side down right on top, and just a couple of loose wraps here. I'm gonna take my thin skin, bring it through the middle and over top of that partridge. Same thing, I'm just gonna make a couple loose wraps here. Since none of this is secured down all the way, I can come in real gently with this partridge and I can just pull until I get a good measurement on my legs. We want them extending just a little ways back. Say that's about good. The next thing I'm gonna do is really tighten down on this, and then I'm gonna come in, lift all this excess here, and just trim that away. Alright, so last step is we're going to bring this tinsel over top. Final step for our wing case. I'm going to make sure that's laying nice and flat, right in the middle. Make a couple of tight wraps. Then I'm going to bring it back kind of over itself. Make a couple of wraps. Okay, so we can come in and just trim this flat. It's okay if there's a little tag there, it'll typically kind of lay down over itself. So at this point, we're just gonna whip finish. One last step we're gonna do here to make this fly a lot more durable is we're gonna come in and add a little bit of this flow. That's one of Loon's UV resins. I'm just gonna put a little bit over top of my bodkin here. And first thing, I'm just gonna let that kind of seep into my thread wraps. And this flow is great because it does tend to soak into your thread wraps real nice. And once we zap it with our light, it really adds a lot of durability. So we'll come in, give this a good zap real quick, usually about 15 seconds here. All right. And I really like adding just a little bit over my wire wraps as well, but just a little bit. Be careful not to get any on your partridge. All right, so we'll give it one final zap here. And we're done. All right, guys, that wraps it up for today. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. To purchase all the materials that we use today to tie the copper john, you just follow the links in the video to our online store, and we'll see you next time you come through the shop. Thank you.